Now we're good.
Awesome. Hey, welcome everybody to Interviews with Everyday People. This is episode 2. I'm here talking to Eva McHale, or as I like to call her, Mom. She's my gram. Obviously, I've known her a long time. But yeah, we're going to dive in a little bit. This is the main reason why I wanted to start this podcast. So many, like maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we sat down and did this before. And because I was doing it on a phone and stuff happened, I actually lost the audio file that we kind of did before. But it was good, but it wasn't, what I wanted it to be. Because obviously I recorded from a phone, but we actually lost the video. So I actually got this idea from an app I was using called StoryCorps, where they kind of talk about this, and it gave me the idea of, you go your whole life, and we live in a modern day now where we can go back and look at a picture of somebody, and we can go back and see, go back and relive something through a photo. But a lot of times is like, for me, example, I can't remember what Pop-Up sounded like. I can't for the life of me remember his voice. And that's like a psychological thing. Sometimes that's the first memory that you lose in somebody is a voice. Obviously, you can look at a picture, remember what they look like, but the voice is something that goes away. And to me, that's really important. So that's why I wanted to do that first thing and have that and share that with our family. We have a very large family, thanks to you. You created a lot of people.
Not only me.
Yeah, and those people created people. And I mean, like I said, we have a very, very large family on the McHale side. So we're going to do a little bit. We're going to dive into, her life and things she experienced and things she did and going from there. And I'm going to learn some stuff. And then obviously this is something that as a family we can always go back and look at. We're actually going to air this. This is a little bit surprise, obviously. This is the first time you're hearing about it, but you won't see it. So we're filming this on, what's today, the 13th?
Yes.
So we're going to do some editing and everything, and we're going to have it all ready to go on the internet, but this isn't going to air until your birthday, which is when?
Thanksgiving Day.
On Thanksgiving Day. So Thanksgiving Day, we're going to actually have the whole family together. We're going to, after dinner, when we all finish getting eaten and stuff, I'm going to have everyone come into the living room, and we're going to play this episode. So pretty much, it's going to be your birthday present for you, and we're going to experience this with the family, and hopefully most people can make it, and we can go from there. But, I think it'd be something cool to do on Thanksgiving for your birthday and for the family.
Yeah.
All right? So, starting off, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, let's see. I was born in Ashland State Hospital in 1937, and I was one of 5 children, and we lived in Girardville. My parents used to live in Ashland, but my dad finally didn't have a job, and he finally got one at the Hammond Coal Company in Girardville. Mm-hmm. So we moved to Girardville.
Where in Girardville
on East Main Street.
That's not the back road where?
No, that's not right on the main street.
Right on the main drag?
Yeah.
Okay.
The house that was there is gone.
Okay.
And we had a good time playing in the yard, jumping in the leaves off the fence, and playing in the snow.
Yeah.
And we got roller skates the one year for Christmas, so boy, did we roller skate. We still love that.
Roller skating around Girardville. Now you said you were 5 children. Were in the age group of your children, where did you lie?
I was in the middle.
You were in the middle?
Yeah.
So you had what?
2 older sisters, and a younger sister and a younger brother.
Okay. And so growing up, that was some of the things you like to do. You like to roller skate, and now this may seem strange, and it might be a weird topic, but I do have younger cousins who grew up in a generation where, we have a cell phone and we have very, very easy ways of communicating with each other. That wasn't the case growing up for you. So when you went out and played, how did you know, obviously, what time to come home? Or, did you just have to check in? What were some of the things you had to do as a kid when you were out playing?
We pretty knew what time it was when to come home, because it usually didn't go too far. It was just a couple of blocks.
Yeah, you kind of stayed in a radius
that we were. Except when we roller skated, then we had to go down about 3 blocks to roller skate.
Now, would you go to the parks in Girardville, or what were some of the?
We didn't have no parks then.
No park. So, did you attend school in Girardville?
Yeah.
Because at the time, that was before obviously North Schuylkill High School came around, and all the schools went to one school. Yeah. So you pretty much through grade school and high school, it was Girardville.
Yeah.
Okay.
Our grade school was on 2nd Street. It's now senior center living.
Mm-hmm.
And then the high school was over on A Street. That's the big blue, it was big blue and white building.
Mm-hmm.
It was there was only 2 other buildings ever made with that type of material. Our high school was one, and then there was one somewhere else.
Okay. Now, going through school and high school, what crowd did you say you fell into? What were some of your hobbies or stuff you did in high school?
Oh, well, we used to go dancing and just hung around with the kids.
Yeah. Now, you know how like nowadays there's like the jocks and like the nerds and this, like where would you say you fell in that, or did you pretty much just get along with everybody?
I pretty well got along with everybody.
Mm-hmm. Did you play any sports or do anything like that growing up? Like what were some of your high school
play
hobbies?
Any sports.
Did you have any high school hobbies? Like things you did in high school?
Oh, gee. Trying to think. Well, we used to go out in the evening. We had a place. We used to go to Scully's Pizza Place.
Mm-hmm.
And just walk around at night, really.
Yeah.
If we did. Or we used to go to the Rangers Hose Company in Girardville.
Mm-hmm.
Had dances.
For the kids?
Yes. So
awesome.
It cost you, it was what, 15 cents on Monday and Thursday. And then on Saturday it was a quarter.
Oh wow, they put the price up there on the weekends. So
we bought them a new fire engine.
Yep. So when growing up, what type of style would you say you had, like with clothing or shoes? Did you have anything that was like your favorite type of clothing or favorite like style?
Not really.
No.
I just wore what we had.
Yeah. Now you're saying it was hard for your father to find a job. Was that during like a time where it
was right after the Depression.
The Great Depression, yeah.
Yeah.
So
it was after, really.
And that affected our area tremendously, or?
Yeah, it did. He by then he was married and had he had one child, my sister Arlene, and then he was living with my grandmother, and then they had my sister Betty.
What was your relationship like with your siblings growing up? Were you close? Was it tight knit? How like?
Yeah, we were pretty close.
And what were the
age?
age?
After one another.
Yeah. What were the age gaps between you?
Arlene was the oldest, and she was then Betty, and there was like 5 years in the difference there.
Mm-hmm.
And then between me and Betty, there's 2. And between Gail and me, there's 2. And then Leo, there's 3 years between him.
So you're relatively all in the same ballpark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, so you're going through, you graduate high school. Did you have plans of post-school, college, anything like that?
After I finished high school, I went to work in Philadelphia as a long-distance telephone operator.
So you went to Philly?
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's kind of a big deal. I mean, like, a typical Schuylkill County person, not many people leave the area like that. So straight out of high school, you went to Philly.
Yeah.
How did you get there, travel, like, 'cause I know you don't drive.
No. I took the bus. No, I'm sorry, I didn't. I took the train.
You took the train to Philly?
Train from Pottsville to Philadelphia.
Okay, and how was that as your first time out of the area? Was it a culture shock being in a big city?
No, I was down there before.
Okay.
We had relatives that lived down there, and I went down there the one summer and spent 6 weeks with them.
Now, what was your duties at your job at a telephone operator? Was that the old plug in and work?
Yes, plug in things, and it was fun, and we had some very interesting people get on. We had quite a few celebrities that I spoke to.
Oh yeah? Who were some of the people you talked to?
Oh gee, I can't remember. Let me think. I can't remember which ones they were anymore. There were so many.
That's okay. So when you would get a call and someone said, I have to go talk to somebody in this, like when I say you had to plug in and plug out, what exactly did that entail? Like, how did that work?
Well, a light would come up on the board.
Mm-hmm.
You were sitting on a high chair, and then you had your board in front of you, and the light would come up, and then you would plug it and say, long distance, can I help you? And then they would tell me who they wanted to call, and then I wrote it down in a book. Say they were calling California, San Diego, California, and they'd give me the number, and then I'd tell them, wait a minute, and if it was person to person, then they gave me the person's name, and then I would go and take another cord and plug it in and dial my San Diego number and everything, and then when they answer, I would ask for the person. And when they put them on the phone,
so you were
then I would put my.
Now, how many different plugs did you have? Did it go by different areas, or how did you know? You just plugged into a different one and then dialed your number?
It just well, we had some. Oh, let me think now. Some were for local and some were for long distance. But actually, we only took long distance. That's all we took was long distance calls. Somebody else in another room had local calls.
Okay. And how? What was the company? Was it like Bell or?
Yeah, Bell Telephone.
You both work for Bell Telephone. That's awesome. So that's something obviously too that's not even a job anymore. That's not even a real thing. So that's pretty cool. I actually didn't know you did that as an occupation.
Yeah.
So now you're in Philly. So obviously, how was life living in that area in the city? Like what would you do for fun in
Oh,
Philly?
I liked it, and. We had, they had different things for us to do. We went swimming, and sometimes we'd go to the movies, and sometimes I'd go see my sister Arlene.
Oh, she lived in Philly too?
Yeah, well, she lived outside of Philadelphia.
Okay. Growing up, obviously, since you brought it up, and it's something I'm very passionate about, as well as Nikolai, what are some of your favorite movies, or what are some of the movies you remember watching, or some of that your favorites that you've seen at that time?
I didn't really get to the movies that often. Usually in the summer we did, because they had on serials.
Yeah.
And we would go on a Tuesday, and we'd pay 9 cents to go see the movie. 9 cents. Because
that's still something that you do up to this day. That you're still you love going to the movies. That's
I do.
It's one of your favorite things to do. What type of movie is your favorite? Would you say a genre?
I pretty well like all movies. I don't like
when they curse too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's pretty cool. That's still something that that's if I would say if there was a list of things that you like to do or that is your hobbies or you're passionate about, I would say you're very, very well versed with cinema. You're very good with. I said that completely wrong. With movies and stuff, that's something you're very passionate about. Even when you're not when you're at home and you're up in your room, you're watching an older movie and stuff like that.
Yeah, sometimes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, at what point did you end up coming back to the area to meet Pop Up, or where in that time?
I met him when I was in high school.
When you're in high school, so when did you start dating?
January 1956.
While you were still in school?
Yes.
So then you actually left and went to Philly, and what did he do?
He went to Fort Knox, Virginia. Fort Knox, Kentucky.
And now, were you guys just still dating at the time, or were you were you engaged, or nothing like that yet?
No. Yet.
How did you meet Pop Up in high school? Was he also a Girardville kid?
No, he was from Ashland.
Okay. And how?
And I met him at one of the teen dances.
At one of the dances at the fire company?
Yep.
Awesome.
That's where I met him.
So he would get a ride from Ashland to Girardville for the dance. So those dances were also. Other towns would come and participate as well. Interesting. So when you first seen Pop Up, what was your first interaction with him when you met him?
I thought he was nice, and I actually had just broken up with a guy I was dating, and he had asked me to dance, and I danced with him, and then a little while later he came back and asked me again, and the guy that I was dating was there, and well, I had broke up with him. And he said, he asked me to dance the second time, and then I said to him, my girlfriend came over, and she said, Joe is really mad. I said, what's he mad about? Because you're talking to that guy, dancing with that guy. I says, oh, really? So he come over to ask me to dance again, and we danced. And when he was going to leave, I started asking him questions about where he's from and just stuff like that. And next thing you know, here comes this Joe out of the back room and putting on his coat and out the door he went.
Oh, he left. He didn't.
Yeah, and I sat there and I laughed.
Now, what type of this is high school? Usually, everyone has different personalities as they grow up. What type of personality was pop up in high school? Was he like a bad boy? Was he a good guy, or
he was a good guy.
Jock? Was he?
He played football for 2 years. Yeah.
He's also a very good baseball player, correct?
Yeah, he played baseball and he also played in the band. But he got hurt playing football. Messed up his knee.
Yeah.
He ended up with a plastic kneecap.
A plastic kneecap?
Yeah.
In high school football?
Yeah.
How did that fly?
He didn't play after that, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Now, his baseball career, I heard he actually had a pretty good. If he would have probably not hurt his knee, he probably could have went pretty far in baseball, right?
No, he was a pitcher.
Yeah, he had people looking at him, from what I was told. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a pitcher.
Now, so you meet him and you start talking. How far into, you meeting him at the dance, and how did you keep in contact? Just over the phone, or he would come to more dances?
He would call me. And we would go, or he'd call me and tell me he was coming in, or I'd call him and say you're coming in, and he'd let me know.
Yeah, so he'd come to more dances, and you guys kept talking and getting to know each other.
Yeah.
About how many dances or conversations before you guys said we're boyfriend and girlfriend?
Oh, I don't know. It just happened.
It just happened. Now, was it a thing there? But I know it was a thing back in the day where you'd wear a pin, or you'd wear like something like. Was it anything like that?
No.
No? Okay, I wasn't sure. I know that was like a thing back in the day, or you had this jacket, there's football jacket, or anything. I don't know, that's big things in our area. But so you guys started dating, you graduated, he goes in then to the military.
Yeah.
Now, did he go voluntarily, or was that during any draft or anything like that?
No, he went voluntarily.
And what?
Actually, when he was in school, he was with the Marines, with the National Guard. For his junior and senior year at school.
So when he enrolled, he went to the Marines?
No, he went to the Army.
The Army, okay.
Yeah.
What was there a reason why he changed from Marine to Army?
Because he wanted to go to school, and the Marines didn't have anything to offer.
Okay. Now, the Army still took him even though he had a bum knee.
Yeah.
Yeah? They didn't care?
He didn't actually have a bum knee because you couldn't tell the difference between one or the other.
So it wasn't something that like affected him at that point?
No.
Okay.
Never did.
So then you go to Philly, he goes into the service. How do you guys keep in contact at that point in time?
We wrote letters. Back and forth to Norfolk.
Do you still have any letters
Norfolk,
from that
Fort
time?
Knox. Then he went to Fort Belvoir, Virginia for schooling. He was a map maker. They made maps. He made maps.
Awesome. Do you still have any letters from that time? From that you guys wrote each other?
No, I don't think. No, I don't.
That'd be really cool if you did. Yeah. So then he goes. Now he served and fought in war, correct? But that's much later. My jump was too far ahead. He was in Vietnam.
Yeah.
So that's the way we're still down the road a little bit. So
yes.
So when exactly did he come home, and then you guys meet up and then start engagement and marriage and stuff?
Okay, he went to Fort Belvoir, Virginia to mapping school, and when he was finished there, they sent him. He was supposed to go to Korea, and they pulled him off of the ship in Tokyo.
All right, we had a quick technical difficulty. We forgot to clear the memory card in the camera, so we left off as he got taken off the boat in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we at there?
Because in Tokyo, they had a mapping outfit, and they wanted him to come in and take charge of it.
Now, is that where he got his Mount Fuji badge?
Yeah.
On your wedding picture? On your wedding picture, he has a Mount Fuji badge on his sleeve.
That's where he got that. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, so okay, he gets taken off the ship in Tokyo, and then where in the timeline is it that you guys finally get back together and start talking about the family?
Well, we wrote back and forth, and he sent me a letter and wanted to know would I marry him. And I said, well, before I did anything, I showed it to my dad. And he said, well, you know, he said, there's a difference in religion here.
Oh, I forgot about
And
that back in the day.
I said, I said, yeah. I said, I realize that, Daddy. He said, now don't forget, he says, I'm Catholic. He said, and your mother is Protestant. I said, yeah, I said, I know that. I said, religion don't matter to me. I said, I love Pat, and we wanted to get married, and I just wanted your opinion. And he says, go ahead.
So your parents were kind of very, we'll say, I guess, liberal at the time, or very open-minded with that, because I mean for even that generation, your parents' generation, to kind of go against Christianity and Protestant was a big deal.
But when my parents got married, they had a promise that they would raise their children Catholic.
They had to be promised to not raise them Catholic. They had to be raised Protestant.
No, we were raised Catholic.
Oh, you had to be promised to be raised Catholic.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. So then,
my mother still kept in contact with her church.
Now, what was? Now you were Catholic, and what was Papa?
He was Protestant.
He was Protestant.
Yeah.
Okay. So then your dad gives you the okay, and you guys. Now, how long have the letters been going since you've been Philly and home, and he's been away at service?
Well, from 1956 to. We got married in 1958.
So about almost 2 years.
Yeah.
So you guys had a relationship for 2 years where you didn't physically see each other. Everything was via letter.
No. When he, let's see, about a year and a half, really. Because when he came from Fort Knox to Virginia, he used to come home, and I would see him.
Okay.
But then once he left for Japan, it was over a year before I saw him, till he came home.
How
we got married.
How did he like Japan? Did he ever tell you?
Yeah, he liked it.
He liked it a lot. That's because that's something that even Austin wants to go do. Is he wants to experience Japan. So then he comes home after the Japan, or
no? When he's still in Japan, he came home on leave.
Okay.
And we got married.
Okay.
In September, no, yeah. I'm sorry. October of 1959.
And then when were you able to then go
Then he went back, and then I went back. Then I went over there in February.
February of that same year?
Yeah, no, so February of 59.
59, and then you lived in Japan for a little bit as well?
Yeah.
How did you like Japan?
I loved it.
Yeah. What were some things about Japan that you enjoyed?
The people, and there was so many things you could do. I mean, if you wanted to learn something, there was a class for it.
Yeah.
I mean, went to doll making classes and flower arrangement.
Is that where you learned how to crochet?
No, I could crochet before then.
Okay, because you are a phenomenal crocheter. She can bang out like a king size bed like that in like 2 days. She's like, and it's
not
detailed.
2 days.
I'm exaggerating, but she can, and I mean they're fully detailed, not just one solid color. Like she's insane at what she does. So then you're living in Japan for a little bit now. Any children come while you're in Japan?
Yes, actually, when we got to Japan, I was pregnant.
You were already pregnant.
Yeah.
So when he came home, you got married, and
got pregnant.
And got now you did you give birth while you were in Japan to your first child?
Yeah.
And that would be
Patrick,
yes. So then you got pregnant again while you were in Japan, or was
Yes, I had my oldest daughter Arlene in Japan.
So they were both Japanese babies.
Yes.
So how long did Patrick and Arlene live in Japan and live there for?
Let's see. Pat was born in July, and then Arlene was born a little over a year later. And
Okay.
she was just a baby when we left.
So Pat pretty much had, I mean, not really, he can't remember much of being a 1-year-old, but he celebrated his first birthday in Japan, and then from Japan, then where did you guys go?
We went to, let me think now. Bethesda, Maryland.
Maryland.
Yeah.
And then another child comes?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was Paul. And then we were there for 3 years. And then Eva was born there. They're both born at Walter Reed,
While you were in Maryland.
Washington.
So you moved from Japan to Maryland. Now you're up to 4. You're up to 2 boys, 2 girls.
Yeah.
Now, was it always a plan to have a big family?
Not really.
No. So once you had the 2 boys and 2 girls, were you like, all right, I think this is it. We got one of each. We're good to go. Or what was the plan there?
There was no plan.
It just, it happens. It
It
happens.
just happens, it happens.
So from Maryland, then where do you go?
From Maryland, we went to,
Would it be Germany?
no, we went to Italy.
Italy. That's right, Italy. So how long in Italy did you move to Italy with him at that time?
Yes.
Now, how old is Pat, Arlene, and Colleen and Eva at this point?
Well, Colleen
Or no, I'm
was-
sorry, Eva and Paul. Paul and Eva at this point in Italy.
Eva was walking. She was over a year old.
So is Pat and Arlene going to school while they're in Italy?
Yeah. And we were only there about a year, and we came home.
Now, do you want to talk about what happened in Italy, or is it?
We didn't like Italy. Let's put it that way.
Wasn't there a situation that happened a little bit in Italy?
Yeah, well, we were on our way to the airport, or to a hotel. We had checked out of our house. Well, we were in an apartment. And we were driving down to the hotel to stay overnight for the next day. And we were in an automobile accident. And there was, over there they have like a 3-wheeled vehicle. It kind of looks like a motorcycle on the front, but it has like a box on the back. And actually the person that we had was on the wrong side of the road. And there was a woman in with them, with the driver, and she got killed.
Yeah.
So then he was in the hospital. Well, he was okay. We were okay. But of course, then they arrested him, and then he was in Italian prison for a while.
How long was he in prison for?
Well, he didn't go right away, and then they put him in prison, and then let's see, the accident happened right before Christmas. So he was in there, I would say, maybe about 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
Even though that the driver was on the wrong side of the road and everything.
Yeah.
And they didn't care.
There's no such thing as perjury in Italy.
No. So murder's murder. They don't care.
Yeah.
They don't care the circumstance.
Yeah, and I mean, when it happened, it was just our 2 vehicles. But by the time the police and everything came, there was people all over the place, and of course this one saw it and that one saw it. So
there's all different stories.
Yeah.
And I'm sure maybe speaking English didn't really help you either because you couldn't. Was there a language barrier?
There's a lot of Italians speak English.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he does about 6 months. How does he end up getting out? Was it time served or?
He had he had an Italian warrant officer that he worked with, and he came to see him in prison, and he said to him, he says, Mac, he says, how much money do you got, or how much money can you get? And he says, let me think. He said, I'm sending money home to my wife. He said, And he told him, I don't even remember the amount anymore.
And you're back in the States at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
So he said, what was the amount? And I said, and I don't remember how much. And he told him, he said, that'll work. And he says, why? He says, I'll have you out of here tomorrow.
So it was almost like a bribery almost?
Yep.
Now, when you come back to the States, where are you living now?
I stayed with my mom and dad.
So you were back in Girardville?
Yeah.
Okay. So then he gets released.
Yeah.
And he gets on a plane and comes back home.
Uh-huh.
Now the army or the military didn't get involved at all with it or anything, because he's technically an American citizen
Yeah.
in another country. Like they never got involved or tried to help out.
Well, I mean, they did. I mean, to some point, as far as getting the money that he needed.
Mm-hmm.
But he was under NATO, which the Italian government really didn't have anything to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Now, when they told him to leave, was it like just leave Italy, or was he ever allowed to go back, or was there any like circumstances to that?
not that I know of.
Not that you know of. Okay, so he gets released. He comes home back to Girardville to the family.
Yeah.
And then from there, then where do you guys go?
We went down to Fort Belvoir, Virginia.
Okay. And no kids there yet. You're going pretty steady with just.
Yeah.
Or no,
No.
Colleen
well,
comes, right?
Huh?
Colleen is while you're
Yeah.
in Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you give birth to another girl, Colleen.
Yeah.
So now you're the boys are losing the race here. You got 3 girls, 2 boys.
Yeah.
All right. There's a trend here. The boys lose horribly. So Colleen is born. Kind of just give me a recap. How old is Pat and Arlene at this point? When Colleen's born.
Well, they were born in 1959 and 1960 and 61. So that was, them 3 were in school.
Mm-hmm. Was it hard for them to go to school and move around a lot, or they just kind of knew it was part of the territory?
They just went, and that was it. I mean,
would they ever like express to you like, we're just making friends here, now we're leaving again? Did they ever?
not until they got in their teens. Until they got older.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went from Fort Belvoir. That time we went to Germany for 3 years.
And Germany is where my mother was born.
Yes.
Yes. So she's a German, because when I know getting her birth certificate was not easy to do at one point in time. We had to both get ours done, and hers took forever to come to us. So how long exactly
Actually,
did you?
she don't have what you say a birth certificate. She has a certificate from the embassy in Frankfurt, Germany.
Mm-hmm. So how long
She
did
better
you?
not lose it.
Yeah. How long were you in Germany for?
3 years.
3 years. So my mom leaves. You leave Germany when my mom is about 3 years old, or about 2.5, 3-ish.
No, she was only about. She was born in. I forget what year it was. Well, she's 50 years old now, so 50 years back.
Yeah. So comparing, just kind of forgot to ask you, Italy, living in Tokyo and then living in Germany and then going to Italy, then Germany. Did you enjoy Italy? Was Italy fun?
No, I didn't like.
Didn't like Italy at all.
Let's see how to describe it. If they didn't get what they wanted in the area that we were in Naples.
Mm-hmm.
And actually Naples is the poor section of Italy.
The southern.
No, the southern part, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because any money that goes into the country goes up in the north, that starts and then just filters.
It's kind of like the United States.
Yeah.
The northern is like what we consider is like top, and then as you get further down, they're kind of more frowned upon and thought of as different. Because yeah, that's kind of how Italy is too. So the Italians were stubborn, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
I don't believe
where we lived. Like where we lived in an apartment building, and we were lucky. We lived on the first floor because there was no elevator. It was 4 floors.
Mm-hmm.
We were on the first floor, and behind it was a big orange grove. delicious oranges. And the landlord had got us some, and we had eaten them. And I said, oh, they were so good. And I said, well, why aren't they picking them? He says, oh, they'll stay there. He said, they'll rot in the trees. I said, what? He says, yeah. He said, the guy that owns that whole thing back there, he said, he can't get the price he wants for those oranges. So if you let them rot on the trees before he'll sell them.
Wow. Yeah, they are. That is pretty stubborn.
So the one night, your grandfather and a couple of the other GIs in the building, they went out and they picked oranges.
So Papa was a troublemaker in Italy. So all right. So from now in Germany, how did you like Germany?
Oh, Germany was great. We
Yeah?
had a good time there.
Mhm.
Really enjoyed it.
What was some of your favorite things about Germany?
The food. They
Yeah?
had very good food. And different things to do. We used to go to the club. We did lots of times they had celebrities into the club, the
Mhm.
NCO club.
Like American celebrities or German celebrities?
American,
American.
yeah.
Now, when I think Germany in that area, I think of obviously like the World War I and World War II, and like some of the historic areas and historic monuments and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Uh-huh.
So was there any like big cities or anything you experienced while you were in Germany?
Yeah, well, we went to Heidelberg,
Mm.
to the university there, and went through there. And then we went to a place called Saar, and that was like kind of up on top of a mountain, and there
Mhm.
was an old Roman fort there. When the Romans occupied Germany,
Yeah.
there was ruins of a German fort there,
Nice.
and we took the kids there. I have pictures of that.
Now you also went to Germany too, right?
I did, yes. I spent I took 2 trips, 2 weeks at a time, for my high school foreign exchange program. So I got to see Heidelberg, for instance. I stayed in Landau, about like an hour or so from
That's where my
Frankfurt.
husband worked.
In Landau?
Yeah,
Really?
really.
That is so cool. 'Cause I actually, a friend of mine a couple weeks ago from around that area was here in New York visiting, and she was here for about a month. So I hadn't seen her for like 10 years. So it was nice to get to see people from that area again. When I was there, I did a lot of like bike riding and stuff, like through the wine vineyards and all that kind of stuff. Was there a particular like mode of transportation that you guys chose to?
No. With with small children, I mean, it was kind of hard to do a lot. When you didn't have we had a station wagon, but still in all, it was kind of cramped.
Yeah.
Now,
to go for too long.
now Pop-Up, he enjoyed beer, right? He was a
Yeah.
beer drinker. How did he like Germany for the beer?
Oh, he did.
Yeah, because I mean, when you think Germany, the food and the beer, right? And then obviously the wine is very good in Europe.
No, he's not a wine drinker.
No,
He's never
no.
a wine drinker.
I can agree with him on that. If there's a reason why I don't like wine, that might be it. But I'm not a wine drinker at all. You can give me my rum, my whiskey, and my beer. I'm good to go. So then you leave Germany, and then from there you guys go back to
Fort Belvoir.
back to Virginia.
Yeah.
Okay. So at what point from there do you guys? All right, so you're there for a while, and then from
We're there
there
for 5 years.
for 5 years.
Okay.
So that was you put a big stint back in Virginia.
Yeah.
Okay. And then from there, from Virginia,
We went to Hawaii.
Hawaii, and that's where.
Took us 2 years to get there, but we got there.
Yeah. Now was Hawaii? Mary's already born at this point in Virginia.
Oh, yeah.
So Mary's born. So now you have pretty much your stable's done. The kids, the stable's done.
That's right.
All right. So now just to recap at home, we have Pat, Arlene, Eva, Paul, or my flip-flop.
Your flip-flop.
Paul, Eva,
Yeah.
Colleen, my mom, Mary. Well, 7 kids.
Yeah.
All right. And like I said, the boys lost. The boys were outnumbered. So then you move from Virginia to Hawaii. Now, most of the kids, because I remember hearing stories from Mary, Arlene, they remember vividly Hawaii. Like they liked Hawaii.
Yeah.
They had a good time in Hawaii. They said some of the people didn't like them in Hawaii because if you were not a native, what they would say, it was a hard time sometimes. They said the Samoans were sometimes very mean to them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, did you enjoy Hawaii?
Oh yeah.
Beautiful, right?
Oh yeah.
But was it expensive in Hawaii when you were there? Or?
Hawaii was expensive, really, but we could get food stamps.
Mm-hmm.
You paid so much for them, and then they were so much more food.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, we just did what we had to do, really.
Mm-hmm. Now that you have pretty much the kids are all there, were they close growing up? Did they kind of do their own thing? Because now you have a lot more age gap between your children.
Yeah, they're.
Did some kind of flock to others and hang out more with each other than others?
They really had their own friends, but most of the time, I mean, they kind of stuck together.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Arlene and Pat and Paul, they were involved with youth groups at the church,
Mm-hmm.
one of the churches, and then they used to take them on trips. They head to the other islands,
Mm-hmm.
and then they had lots of room to roam in,
Mm-hmm.
really. And
So they were able to kind of all do their own thing a little bit.
Yeah.
And, nice. So how long did you live in Hawaii for?
2 years.
2 years, and then from there you come back to
Yeah, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Now, at what point in this does Pop get deployed, or is he already
Doesn't-
deployed?
No.
No, not yet.
We were supposed to be in Hawaii for 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and we were there about 2 years. He wanted to retire.
Mm-hmm.
He had enough time in that he could retire.
Yes.
By that time, he had like 23 years in.
Okay.
So he wanted to retire, and if we would have stayed in Hawaii the 3 years, I would have come back with half my kids.
What do you mean?
Paul, Arlene, and Pat would have graduated from high school.
From Hawaii?
Yeah.
So they were much older, actually living.
Yeah, Pat was a senior when we were in Hawaii.
Wow. I didn't realize how much older they were when they were in that area.
Yeah, he was 18.
Wow. So then now at this point you are in Pop's childhood home in Ashland, or are you in Girardville?
No, we were staying with my mother.
So at what point did you buy the house in Girardville?
Well, we're only there maybe about 3-4 months. Not even that long.
The one across from Tony's?
Yeah.
And was it the roller skating rink?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're only in that house for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, with my mom. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I heard stories that they used to torture local kids because that house used to be a funeral home.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so here's a funny story. So you could probably tell it better, but actually, yeah. So what would they do?
Well, they would have friends over, and they would say, "Oh, come on down and go down the basement. Show you the basement." They wanted to see where
The bodies were.
the bodies were.
Kids' curiosity.
So they said, "Okay." So they would take them down, and they would take them in that room. But there was another entrance into this room because it was like a sub-cellar. And they'd go in there, and when they were in there, the light wasn't the greatest. So they'd go and they'd stick their hands up through the floor, and wow, they'd scream and take off running.
They tortured people.
And then we had an anniversary party for your Aunt Betty.
Okay.
And there was still one of the beers. It looks like an accordion, really, and it opens up, and then they put the coffin on top of it to move it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there was still one of those down in the basement. Well, some of the guys, they went down there, and they got it out, and there was a piece of plywood down there, and they put that on top, and they pushed it up the hill and into the front of the house in the door, and and the guy that was on it, he was a real character, and then he just sat up, and everybody screamed.
Now, so from there, you guys, so you're out of Hawaii, and now you're living in Ashland, right? Or you're still in Girardville?
We're still in Girardville.
Okay.
We lived in Girardville. Was it 2, maybe 3 years?
Mm-hmm. Now, Pat, Arlene.
Pat went into the Navy when we were in Hawaii.
Okay.
And then he was away after that. Different
And then
places.
you come home and Arlene
Arlene
graduates
graduated.
from North Schuylkill. Okay.
And then Paul, well, then they all graduated from North Schuylkill.
And then Paul went into the service.
No, Arlene stayed in the area. She worked at the shirt factory in Ashland, the Papa at Ashland. And then Paul went to art school in Philadelphia for 2 years. And then he lived down there for another year, maybe 2 years. And then he went into the Navy. He finished the school, and then he was working, and he decided he was going to go into the service, and he went in the Navy also.
So, at what point? Because I don't know if I'm not far enough ahead, or I messed up the timeline here a little bit. Did Pop serve in Vietnam? Before he served in Vietnam between the time we left Germany. He went right into Vietnam. Now he had.
And he was there for 6 months.
6 months,
And then it wound down.
Yeah. Now he got. Was that where he got injured?
Yeah.
Yes. So do you want to talk to us a little bit about what happened with that situation? Because that's an insane story.
I didn't know anything about it until he come home.
Really?
And yes.
So
he told me he didn't want me to worry, and he was all right.
Ladies, hear this. This is insane.
So one night they got hit at the camp where he was. They got bombed or rockets and stuff, and he had a live rocket in his shoulder.
He got hit with a rocket, and it didn't go off.
That was lucky.
It was in him.
Yeah, it was in the shoulder.
Did it come through? Did it come out the other side?
Yeah.
Wow. He was impaled by a rocket, and it didn't detonate.
So they put him on a helicopter and took him to the hospital in Tokyo.
And so he went from Vietnam to Tokyo in a helicopter with a live rocket. Now, did they defuse it yet, or they're going to do that in Japan?
Huh?
Was it defused yet? A live rocket in his shoulder on a plane ride. Could you imagine being the guys taking care of him, or the pilot who's now flying with a human with a rocket in his body? Now, there was a story came out, I'll let you finish a second. So, Austin meets, I forget the kid's name, but Austin meets his kid through bowling. Now, this whole story has been told in this kid's this whole family, when his grandfather was in Vietnam, that he was in Tokyo, he was injured as well.
Yeah.
And he was in the barracks where, people were injured, and in rolls a man with a live rocket in his shoulder. And he said people who had gunshot wounds and had injuries that could moved. They were like, we're good, we're gonna go stand out. Like, they didn't, they were able to get up and get out of there, they tried. And no one ever believed, they thought his grandfather was crazy. A guy with a live rocket in his shoulder. So then this grandfather makes a family in Pennsylvania. Years later, their great-great-grandsons are bowling in a league together, and they're talking about my grandfather. They met in Tokyo, in the infirmary, while he's getting this live rocket taken out of his shoulder during the Vietnam War. So, I'm sorry, now go ahead. So he's in there with the rocket.
They took him in, they had, the way they had it set up, they had, the operating table in one area, and everything around it was sandbags in case it did go off.
Uh-huh.
And the doctor was trying to get it out, and he was kind of shaken. And he said to him, "What's the matter, doctor, shaking?" He says, it may be in you, but I got a hold of the other end of it.
Yeah. So Papa was completely conscious during this.
Oh, yeah.
I'd have been like, put me out. So, did he have any permanent damage?
No, not really.
No?
I mean, he really he hardly even tell where it was. Whoever did the surgery on it and everything, there was hardly a scar
and
at all.
And he was able to full movement of his shoulder and everything. Yeah. Now, it was a rumor for a long time that he lost one of his lungs during that, but that wasn't the case, right?
No.
No. So, he's fixed. still in the service, because sometimes like nowadays you get something like that. You know you serve your time. You can go home.
Yeah.
He still continues his service. Right?
No,
'Cause
when he left Vietnam, he got out.
he got out, and that's when you guys left Hawaii and.
No, that was after. And he came home, and when he told me after he got, after he got home that he got out. I said, for what? I said, you don't have that much more to go. He says, where they were going to send me, he said, I wouldn't have got another water stripe. I would have lost it. And I just looked at him. I said, what? He says, you remember that shaved tail lieutenant we had in Italy? I said, yeah. He says, well, he was a captain where they wanted to send him. And he says, I wasn't going and working under him again. He says, no way. He said, he had a choice of going there or coming out. He says, I got out.
So this is you guys leave Germany.
Yeah.
He goes to Vietnam. So while you're in Germany, you're in Virginia, right? During this time.
No, I was in Pennsylvania.
You were in
I went
Pennsylvania.
home, yeah.
Okay. And then you guys ended up in Hawaii, but he was out of the military at that point?
No, he was out of the military from February until July.
Okay.
Then he was working, and the place that he was working with, the guy that owned it had his nephew running the place, and he didn't even know what he was doing. He didn't know what the job was or anything, and they tried to help him out, and he used to get mad at them and blow his mind. And my husband told him one day, he says, that's it. He says, I quit. And that was that. Well, then his buddy came by the house. He said, is Mac here? I said, no, he's at work. And he said, uh-oh. I said, what? He said, he quit today. I says, oh, okay.
So his nickname was Mac.
Yeah, they used to call him Mac. And I says, okay. And then he said, well, then he left and Pat came home. And I said, okay.
Sober? Did he come home sober?
Yes.
Because if I had a bad day and I left my job, I'd probably go have a couple first.
No. He went from, even forget where the job was at. And he went from there, he went to Pottsville, and then he came home. And then he told me he had quit. And he said to me, what would you say if I was thinking about going back in the Army? And I looked at him and says, what in the hell took you so long?
Yeah.
And then they sent him back to Fort Belvoir. And then we were down there for 5 years, and then to Hawaii.
Back to Hawaii. So now you're home. He's done the Army. He's done. You're out of Hawaii. Now you're in Gerardville. And then how long are you there before you go from Gerardville to Ashland?
Oh, we were in the house in Gerardville. Oh, I guess it was about 2, maybe 3 years.
That's the house that your parents used to live in, right?
No, not my parents. That his dad.
His dad had.
And
in Gerardville.
No.
When you lived in Gerardville, you lived in your parents' house.
We did when we first got home.
Yeah.
Well, then we bought a house, the
funeral home.
Yeah. We were there until when Eva graduated from high school. We were in Ashland. Paul was already graduated. So, yeah.
Now, the house in Ashland was his father's old house. So we're going to do a little time warp here. So can you explain a little bit of Pop-Pop's childhood or what you know of it? And
well, his dad was in his 60s when Pat was born. And his mother was 16.
Boom, there it is. Yeah. So
her parents, they had something like 27 kids.
Yeah, they were a big family.
And his mom was the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, so she kind of got pushed by the wayside. I mean, she could do anything she wanted.
And 27 kids to look out for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, a lot of them were already adults and had families of their own when Pat was born.
Mm-hmm.
So, but she used to go to the bars, and that's where she met his dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he got her pregnant, and they were supposed to get married, and then they didn't. And after Pat was born, she was still in the hospital. She got pneumonia, and she died.
So she didn't die from childbirth. She died from pneumonia after childbirth.
Yeah.
And then, from what I was told, the family said, we already have too many mouths to feed.
No, not really.
No, it's...
His grandmother, she said, they had words back and forth all the time. And the one day she came back, and actually Pat's dad was living with the lady that he called mom was actually his sister-in-law. And the one day she just got on her high horse, I guess, and she came out on the porch because they lived in a double down in Locust Dale. And she said, "Here, take him. You take care of him. I ain't taking care of him anymore." She gave him to her, and then they went, and he went and he found a house in Ashland where he bought it. And he had told her, he says, if I buy this house in Ashland, because she was wanting to move too, because she didn't get along with the fish. Well, her name was Fishburne, and she said, "I'm going to buy a house in Ashland, and I want you to come and live with us." He says, "And I'll take care of everything." And well, she was married, and she had one kid by that marriage, but she had 5 or 6 by her first marriage, because she was married before.
Yeah.
And she only had one with her last husband.
So then that was his childhood home growing up.
Yeah.
So, fun fact about Pop-Up, his high school was located where?
Across the street.
You could throw a rock from his window, you could hit the school with a rock. How often was Pop-Up on time for school?
He was always on time for school.
I thought he was almost always late.
No. He'd heard the first bell go off, and he went to school.
his clock was the first bell, and then he would just walk across the street.
And he was up and ready to go.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The first bell would ring. He said, "I'm going to stand around those halls and sitting around." He said, "I just heard the first bell, and away he'd go to school," because it was like 5 minutes between the 2 bells.
Yep. He lived right across the street. And that's the house in Ashland is where I have most memories, because growing up, that's pretty much where you stayed most of the time, and that's where you were for the longest time. So you're living in Ashland. Paul has graduated. He graduated
when we were in Girardville.
Yeah. So he at this point when you're in Ashland, he's in the Navy. Pat's still in the Army.
No, Pat was, when we first moved there, he was in art school. Yeah.
Pat was, or Paul?
Paul.
Paul, okay. And then Colleen, my mom, Mary, are all still going to high school.
And Eva. Yeah.
Okay. So then we have the first, I'm probably way past this, but we have the first addition to the family with with Arlene, has Matthew, right? At this point?
Yeah.
So Matthew's here.
Yeah.
What was your first experience of being a grandmother with Matthew?
Oh, I don't know.
You don't remember?
They were all so cute, really.
was like, so Matthew's around. Are you're excited? Like, you're starting to see like your family grow?
We're still living in Girardville when Arlene and Colleen had their first babies.
Mm-hmm. So Matthew and Brian are...
But Arlene stayed with us a little while, but then her and Jeff they was living in a trailer up in Frepro.
And then Colleen was just about ready to graduate when she had Brian, right? Or she just graduated?
No, she was about ready to graduate.
And then Matthew, Brian, then Megan, right? No, Jimmy. Jimmy's next. Yes, Jimmy's next.
Yeah, I think so.
Yep, then Jimmy, and then Megan,
yeah.
and then myself, who my mom was about to graduate, or she was in high school when she got pregnant with me. Okay, and then Jill, then Johnny and Adam, and then much later, Austin.
Jill.
No, I said me, then Jill, then Johnny and Adam.
No. The twins.
Jill's first.
It's Jill, and
then the
twins.
twins.
So you're right.
And then much later is Austin.
Yeah.
So pretty much for the most part, you everything's going. I don't think the twins weren't born yet when Papa passed away, right? I don't know if they were.
Yes.
They were?
Yeah.
They were. Everybody but Austin was born. So when Pop left us, was it a surprise? Was his health slipping? I'm too young to remember.
He wasn't. He was having a problem with his hands. He had in his hands what they call Dupuytren's contractures, whereas the ligaments pull the fingers down, the calcium, and they pull the fingers down like this, where you can't open your hand. Is it
kind of like a trigger finger almost?
Not exactly, because it's a lot of calcium deposit in the palm of the hand, and it just pulls the fingers down. He did lose his little finger on his one hand because of it.
I do remember missing a finger. He had like from the knuckle, right?
No, the whole finger was gone. He had just.
Oh, I thought it was like I said, I was so young.
Yeah.
So Papa, before we get into this part, he got me into the Washington Redskins. I mean, my dad is also a Redskins fan, but I remember I remember watching my first Redskins game with Papa, sitting on the chair in Ashland. He was having a couple drinks.
What did he give to you that you liked the most?
The blanket.
Huh? No. When you'd be watching the football games.
Oh, Coke.
Yeah, and what to eat.
I don't remember the food.
Peanuts.
Peanuts.
Yes.
Which is strange. I don't even eat. All right, so here's the weird thing.
Peanuts, and he always had a bag full of Dum-Dum suckers.
Okay, so Dum-Dums I still eat. So growing up, I guess I ate peanuts all the time, and I drank coffee, and this was weird. Maybe it's a psychological thing. So once my grandmother passed, my other grandmother, I stopped drinking. I used to drink coffee every morning with her, and then she passed away, and then I wouldn't touch coffee ever again. To this day, I love the smell of it. If I drink it, I'm like, this is disgusting. And I don't like peanuts. But obviously, when I was a kid with my grandfather, I ate them all the time. So maybe
he always had a jar of peanuts there, and then you guys would come in. Can we have peanuts, Papa?
Yep, I remember sitting in the chair and watching football. So going back, so he's having issues with his hands.
Yeah.
And then it just declined from there, or?
Yeah. Well, from the drinking, he had got cirrhosis of the liver, and then he also had cancer, but he never told me or any of that.
Really?
They would call him on the phone from the hospital to get him to come in for appointments, and he wouldn't go.
I could relate to that. I probably wouldn't either. Where did he have cancer of? Where was the cancer at?
Well, it was probably spread all through his body by the time he passed away.
Where did it start?
Probably in his liver, I imagine.
Really?
Yeah, and his stomach. Because they went. Let me think. I knew he wasn't feeling good, that there was something wrong, and I just had to ask him about, you're going to the doctor's. He said, I have a doctor's appointment. And I said, where? Well, uptown, And I said, well, with who? What, you wouldn't tell me who. And then one of the girls got it out of him. It wasn't a doctor's appointment. It was for glasses.
Oh, so optometrist. Yeah. Now, when he was sick and going through stuff, he wouldn't say nothing? He just kind of kept it to himself?
Yeah. So I was asking him to go. No, he wouldn't go. So Mary came home. She had just graduated from college.
College, yeah.
And she had a job working for Rite Aid in Reading.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she's, Arlene had talked to Mary about it on the phone, and so had I. And she says, "Yeah, I'll be home this weekend, Mom." I said, "Okay." Mary came in. She said, "Hi, Dad." And she looked at him. She said, "What's the matter with you?" He says, "What? What's the matter?" He said, "Dad, you're yellow. You need to go to the doctor's." And he looked at her. He says, "Okay."
Mary was the baby. Yep.
Mary was the apple of his eye.
Yes. Mary.
He was the boy. The third boy he didn't get.
Mary was bring it up. She was a very, very good athlete. So a lot of people, they'll credit, North Schuylkill had 1,000 point. They had 2,000 point scores or 3,000 point scores. I believe was it three? There was 3,000 point scores
Mary never had scored that.
I know,
much.
but the school in that time frame had 3 1,000 point scores.
Yeah.
While Mary was on the team.
Yeah.
Mary was the point guard who pretty much helped those 3 people get those 1,000 points. So if they would have counted assists, Mary would probably be all-time leading assists in North Schuylkill history. Very, very good athlete. You actually have some funny stories about Mary and Pop-Up during basketball games, right? He'd be in the car screaming at the refs.
Oh, yeah.
He'd be in the car screaming at the referees over the radio about a foul called on her, and he couldn't even see the play. He's literally listening on T102. Do you remember the story of Pop-Up losing his teeth? And
oh, yeah.
You want to tell that one quick?
He was there hollering, and his teeth flew out of his mouth. And under the bleachers they went.
And who had to go get them?
Eva went and got them.
But didn't they they tried to send somebody first?
Yeah. And
was it Brian?
No, it wasn't Brian.
It was one of the cousins. One of my cousins they tried to send down, and when he went down and seen they were teeth, he freaked out.
Yeah.
And then Mary or someone had to climb, or Eva had to go climb under the bleachers
Eva
to get them.
Eva went and got them.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, he was very, very proud of her athletic accomplishments, and my mom also played basketball. But Mary was very, very talented at basketball, and Pop-Up was very, very proud of that. So yeah, she was the baby, the apple of the eye. So Mary gets him to go to the doctors.
Yeah.
And from there, what happens?
Well, then he was in, and then he died on the 23rd of July.
And how long would you have been married? At that point.
And shy of 35 years.
Just 35. But together total, how long?
What?
Together total.
Oh, together. Total. From about 38 years.
38.
Yeah.
And how was that? Personally, how did that affect you? I mean, obviously you lost your husband of that long, and it was you lost him. It sucked. Like, how did you cope, or what were some of your
I just had to cope with it. I still had. I didn't have any kids anymore. Grown. All my kids were grown, but my grandkids, they kind of took up the slack.
Yeah. Did it make you change anything when it came to your own health? That like I want to be around to see more, and because obviously he didn't take care of himself very well. He didn't get checkups. I know you're very regular with your checkups. Did that change you mentally that way?
I pretty well took care of myself. I mean, I never was really. The only time I was overweight actually was when I had my kids, and. Other than that, I mean, I pretty well took care of myself.
If to this day, I know obviously he's been gone many years now. I was very young when it happened. I can't remember how long has he been gone now?
From 1993, so it's 20 some years.
Is there any moments that you still think back and?
Oh yeah. What lots of time I think about them.
What are some of your go-to memories of used to?
Oh well, like in Japan, we used to go out quite often to the club and have a good time, and just seeing different places there, and we always had a good time when we went somewhere.
So you pretty much, I mean, you traveled the world with the love of your life for the most. In a nutshell, you did. You've seen a lot of cool things. You got to experience things. He's had an amazing family together. What were some of the things that some music he liked? Some artists or some favorite music that he was a fan of?
Oh, he was a country and western fan.
Cannot relate on that one with him. Do you remember some of his favorite artists?
Roger Miller, and he got to meet him.
Really?
Yeah, when he was young, he was in the service with your dad, with your grandfather.
So his favorite country star was he served with them.
Yeah.
That's a cool experience.
And then when we were in Germany, he was there. And we went to it was at the NCO club, and we went over. We got tickets to go, and he was up there singing, and your grandfather got up. He had to go to the bathroom, and then he hollered something at him, and my husband hollered back at him, "Oh, be quiet! I knew you when you were a private." And the next thing out of his mouth was, "Sergeant Miller, Mac."
Yeah. Would you have any remembrance of like maybe one of his favorite songs, or like if there was a song that you can go back and if you could think about that, like that was his song he used to play all the time?
I can't think.
No?
I mean, he liked country and western music. He got to meet little Jimmy Dickens when he was in Italy. When he had got out of the prison, he was still there a couple of weeks or so, and they put him to work in the NCO club as manager. Help manage it, and Jimmy Dickens was supposed to come, and they were waiting for him, and finally he showed up at like 2:00 in the morning. Of course, by then everybody had gone home, but he was still there because they knew he was coming and they had to wait. So he said, we went, opened up the bar, and we got drunk.
So he got to drink with his favorite, another of his favorite artists.
Yeah.
Now, was Pop-Up into the movies as much as you were? Like, did you? No, he wasn't a movie guy.
No, he did. He used to like a lot of the war movies on the TV. But he had his favorite shows. So.
What were some of his shows he liked? I think he used to watch MASH, right?
Yeah.
He liked MASH. I do remember watching MASH on TV. Obviously, he liked sports. He liked watching the Redskins. Yeah. Do you remember any other sports teams he followed? Or because all I knew was the Redskins.
That's about the only one I think he followed.
Did he ever tell you how he got into liking that football team, or how he became a Redskins fan?
By living down in Virginia
living
area.
in Virginia helped. Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
When he first started going to school down there, that's when he got to go to the couple of Redskins games.
Awesome. Did he ever tell you of a player he liked or anything like that, or no?
No.
Okay. So the present day, your family has now grown. Your kids have now given you some grandkids.
Yeah.
All right. So we have first would be Nathaniel, aka Tater.
Yeah.
Every one of our cousins has a weird nickname. I don't know. Maybe it's just our generation of cousins.
The boys.
Yeah. Well, I gave Isabel a nickname. We'll get in that in a second. So then we have Tater. Then we have Jamie. Right? No, Riley. Riley, then Jamie.
Yeah.
No. Riley, then Tater. Who's older there? Is it Riley, then Tater, or is it Tater, then Riley?
No. Nathaniel's the oldest.
Nathaniel, then it's Riley, because they're not too far apart. Because I remember babysitting both of them, and they were like beating up each other. So then after those two, does it go? Why am I having Jamie? Is it Jamie, or is Jamie then Colin? They're very close too. Colin then Jamie.
Yeah, because Colin was just 8.
Yeah, so it's Colin then Jamie, because they were pregnant at the same time, but then Colin came early, and then Jamie, and then it's Isabel, then Meatball. See, so I call her Isabel, and then there's Meatball, and then Jacob.
Yeah.
And then Grace. Yep. So.
And Gemma.
Yes, and Gemma. Yeah, Gemma's the youngest now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gemma's the youngest.
So she had 7 kids. Out of those 7 kids, you have Matthew, Brian, Jimmy, Megan, myself, Jill, Adam, Johnny, Austin. It's 9 cousins. Now we're up to 7.
Maybe there's more. Yeah.
8. 8.
You were missing somebody, because actually, I'm counting like Taylor and
Mikey
Yeah.
and Taylor. Yep. So
and there's 9
Yep.
plus 3.
yeah, because Rita,
And
Gianni.
Juliana.
Yes, Juliana. So yeah, so I mean, the family is very, very large. You know, it's grown. So you're a great grandmother. Not many kids can, you know, go and say they're gonna go see their great grandmother.
No, great grandmother.
Great grandmother.
Great grandmother.
Sorry, I gave you too many grades.
Yeah.
But you are pretty great. I'll give you that. So to this day, you still crochet.
Yeah.
You knit. You still bowl.
Yeah.
You still going to the movies. Bowling. So you're turning. Do you want to tell your age? You turn. So if we were watching this on Thanksgiving, you'd be how old?
81.
81 years old. Still bowls, what, 2 times a week?
I only go bowl once now.
She used to go like 8 times a week. Her and
No,
my
I
mom,
didn't. 3 times.
It was insane. They bowled all the time. Pop-Up was a bowler as well, too.
Yeah.
So Pop-Up also got into bowling.
So was your Uncle Pat.
Yeah, her whole side of the family are bowlers. I didn't catch the bug. I kind of get into it, and I couldn't do it. It wasn't for me.
Your brother did.
And my brother Austin was a very big bowler. Jimmy bowled.
He's still bowling.
Yeah, Jimmy still bowls. I think that's pretty much when it comes to that generation. Brian tried for a little bit, but Brian would get too angry and
Yeah.
and it didn't help. I was heckling him.
He even tried Little League, and he didn't like that.
Yeah, Brian was an artist. He's very
he's an
good
artist.
So all right, so going into that now, so you have Matthew who went on to, he's doing really well and with his job and raising a beautiful family. He's married, has his kids.
Yeah. You forgot
then,
Grace. Yeah.
Great, yeah. Then Brian, he's very good artist. He's doing very well in that field. I get back into tattooing a little more because that's his gift. He has his son. Then Megan is she's going through some stuff now, but she's still doing very, very well with her son. Jimmy, I skipped Jimmy. I'm sorry. Jimmy's doing really well. He's working. He has three kids now. Myself, no kids. I'm making a podcast. I don't know. I have dogs. I don't have no kids. Jill has Riley, who's almost as tall as her now, which is crazy. Riley's getting tall. Riley's getting really tall.
She's a big girl.
And she's playing. She could get good at basketball too. Maybe she's following Mary's steps in that. I played sports a little bit. I wouldn't say I was any good at it, but I'm good at talking. We'll say that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. Then we're at Adam and Johnny. Johnny's serving in the military. He's National Guard.
Yeah.
He's working at Fort Indiantown Gap.
And he's gonna get married.
He's getting married soon next year. No kids there yet. I always tell him he has to beat me on the kid run because I'm not joining that race. Adam, he's doing pretty well for himself. He's working. No kids on that front yet either. And then Austin, who he's not here with us. He didn't die, but he's in the he just joined the service. He's going through his thing. If you're watching this, I know you are, Austin. Happy Thanksgiving, bud. We wish you were here. We miss you. He's in San Diego.
Yeah.
San Diego right now. I almost got a little emotional saying that he's not going to be here for Thanksgiving. So
he'll be here for Christmas.
He will be here for Christmas, and he'll be here for just in time he'll be 21. And we're gonna go take him to the bar and get him a couple drinks.
Maybe he'll drink his all under the table.
Definitely not. It'll be me, my Uncle Butch, and my dad. My dad, he's not as good of a drinker as he used to be. But me and Uncle Butch, I mean, I'm not Uncle Butch level, but he's definitely not out drinking us. We're gonna get cool little shirts made. I don't know if you've seen the shirts we're buying.
No.
It's a company called Barstool Sports, and they make like different sports related merchandise, but they kind of put their own spin on it.
Yeah.
So their green shirts look like Notre Dame, and instead of play like a champion today, it's drink like a champion.
Oh.
So we're all gonna wear them and then go to the bar for his 21st, and it was late 21st. But yeah, so if you had anything, even the cousins now, our generation, or the next generation, or the generations after that, if you had a message of what you would want them to know about you or anything like that, what would you want your message to carry on, and what would
I want them to do, really? Have a happy life, get a good education, and live life to its fullest.
Live life. I love it. Is there anything else you want to add before we close up here?
I don't know.
Any messages you want to say to any cousins or family members, or anything you want to?
Just to say I love them all, and I wouldn't know what to do without any one of you. And I'm just so lucky that so far all my kids and grandkids are well and happy.
No, we love you very much. You're definitely the rock to our family, and you just keep us in check and keep us in line, and we do love you. And I appreciate you doing this podcast and letting me record this and have this for forever, and it's always going to be out there, and we can always, in 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Hopefully you're still with us in 30. I don't think you're going anywhere anytime soon, but
no, well, I'm gonna live to be 100.
That's her goal. Her goal is 100. So we can always go back and rewatch this, and you're always going to be with us in one way or another, and I love you.
Okay. I love you too, Joe.
All right. So happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. This is going to be episode 2 of Interviews with Everyday People with Eva McHale. And once again, I know it's a little early, but by the time you watch this, happy birthday. And hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving, and we'll see you on the next one. Next episode is going to be my buddy Randy. He's going to come in and tell us about his new band. We have some stuff going on with our MMA podcast, 10-8 Round. That's coming every Thursday-ish, every other Thursday of the month. The wrestling podcast is going to have no name yet. We don't have a name, but that's coming this Friday. So if you guys want to tune into that, you're not going to, obviously, it's going to happen on Friday, but you won't know that until, this is not going to air until Thanksgiving. So the wrestling podcast will have come and went. Maybe we'll have a name by then. And then at the end of the month, we're having our pop culture channel, which is going to talk about movies, TV shows, video games, comic books, everything pop culture related. And that's going to be called Things That Were Not Cool in High School. And that's our Ben shakes his head once again because he lost the vote. But yeah, we have a lot of cool stuff coming your way. The interviews have been going great. We did Scotty McCoy, which was a cool interview. Thank you, Scotty, for your time and everything. And he's been doing a really good job promoting and plugging it. Our pages are doing very well. Thank you guys so much for your support. I'm getting a lot of good feedback from everybody, and I appreciate it. And the love you guys been showing us has been tremendous, and we really do appreciate it. And we promise to keep the content going. And like I said, anyone, right now we're pretty much booked from now till to the end of this year. I do have one solid interview in January. If you guys have anybody or any is want to come and sit down and tell your story, it doesn't have to be. It could be about anything. It doesn't always have to be about your life or something else. But anything. If you have a funny story, they don't have to be an hour long. Just come in and sit down and talk and get your story out there and talk to people. It's not scary, right? It went pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good time. So come on and enjoy it. And thank you guys so much. And we'll see you next time.